Great. Thank you, Tim, and welcome. Look, it's a pleasure to update you on LBT Innovations. We are a commercial stage biotech company, and we are absolutely leading the way with respect to bringing this microbiology discipline up to the 21st century. And we're doing that through really digitizing that effort and automating the workflow. So the opening slide talks a little bit about, kind of the technology and what it is that we're doing. So next slide, if you could, or the first slide. Perfect. And I really like this opening picture because this picture is from a Sonic lab in London, the Health Services Lab, very prestigious lab. They've purchased 2 of our instruments. So the reason I like the picture is because it gives an immediate sense, I think, to shareholders that we've got a product. We've gone through the regulatory approvals. We've really de-risked that product development category. And really, principally, the IP around the technology is a machine vision platform. And so what we do is that the instrument takes a photo of the agar plate, and we've trained an algorithm to interpret real-time what grows on that plate, and importantly, makes a clinical diagnosis. And so what it means for our labs is that we're able to remove the majority of plates that don't have growth or don't have significant growth out of the workflow automatically, so makes an autonomous decision without the involvement of a microbiologist, leaving just the positive plates that need to have some identification and antibiotic susceptibility testing done. So really the whole play here is an efficiency gain to laboratories, freeing up the time of microbiologists. We are generating sales. We've launched the product here in Australia, but really acutely focused on the big markets being the US and then parts of Europe. Next slide just talks a little bit about kind of the size of the area that I'm talking about. And so, clinical microbiology, which is where our focus is a large market. And one of the really key indicators here is a shortage of resources. There are simply not enough microbiologists going through the university systems. So there is a labor shortage. And when there's a labor shortage, you have an increase in costs. And we see this kind of generally, but even prior to kind of coming out of COVID and everyone's short of labor, this was the case for the last 5, 6, 7 years. So, at any one time, 10% of microbiology jobs are vacant. In the US, the average salary of a microbiologist is $150,000 to $180,000 US. So again, you talk about automation, the need for automation and what is a very manual process. There are really key and important drivers that require automation within this workflow. And the picture here gives you an idea of what happens everywhere around the world. So there is no predicate for what we're automating. The predicate is a scientist sitting at a workbench, like on this picture, holding a plate and reading it. So they look to see if any bacteria is growing, and then they'll manually key in the result of that into the laboratory information management system. So there is no other technology that automates what we're doing, and that's why we are leading the way to disrupt this market. And it's really, really exciting in that we're now at a commercial stage and making commercial progress. Next slide kind of talks about our journey, where we are a company that, it's taken us longer than we expected, and it certainly cost us more than we expected to. And I think, I say that in the context of the value proposition for investors and shareholders today is extremely compelling, given where we're at in that technology journey. And so this kind of outlines where we've come from, focusing on the technology roadmap and where we've got to where we are now. And so we've done the 10,000 patient clinical trial, our pivotal study to get US FDA clearance. So we're clear to sell in the US. There is no other product, again, that automates culture plate reading. The predicate is a manual culture plate read like you saw on that previous photo. So our instrument automates that. And the whole idea is that you now have a technician go to our instrument, load up the instrument with all of these Petri dishes or these agar plates. They start a session and then they walk away. And what APAS does, our automated plate assessment system, is it moves plates from the instrument onto the left-hand side to the right-hand side, taking an image, autonomously making that decision, and then triaging those plates that don't have growth. And those plates that don't have growth are discarded. They're removed out of the workflow automatically. Again, just leaving those positive plates that need the ID and AST work. And we've got a portfolio. I mentioned urine, but it's not only urine screening. We have MRSA, which is golden staph identification, and we're working on an AST module. And I'll talk a little bit about an exciting new development moving into the pharma space in clean rooms. So look, technology is done and we're in market. Next slide talks about the market opportunity and what that looks like. We've launched in 5 key countries. So that addressable market's about 2,000 labs. The global market opportunity is about 13,000 labs. We've got big names behind us. Thermo Fisher Scientific are a huge global company, as well as Beckman Coulter. And there's a synergism between their products and our product. And so in the case of Thermo Fisher, who have about 60% market share of the media, that's the plate, well, our instrument automates the reading of their plate. And for similar reasons, but similar in context of having products that are complementary, Beckman Coulter have a number of instruments that they call workstation automation as part of the workflow, and APAS fits really nicely in that. The way the product is sold, there's a capex, so you pay $300,000 US for the instrument, the kit, the bit of hardware that you can see. Then there's an annual software license. This is for the algorithm to interpret what the various plates and the specimens on the plates are. So that's, if you like, your annuity. That's your consumable. It's a software license. You can't opt in or opt out. You need to have the software license, and it's typically sold on a 5-year contract. And so that's how when you kind of consider, when you sell an instrument, the total opportunity there is $450,000 US dollars. And we're appointing a distributor, so Thermo Fisher in the US as an example, and they're our arms and legs. They've got the brand reputation that all of our customers understand and know. And it's one of these situations where they're not only the big company and the big brand, but in their first 12 months of being appointed, they've purchased 5 instruments, which is really good considering a sales cycle of typically kind of 15 months. So they're kind of overachieving in the first 12 months. Look, next slide talks, I think, about the journey of where we've come and the inflection point that we've created. And look, it is largely driven through the traction in the US market. We've sold 7 instruments calendar year to date, and you can clearly see that's a step up change. The last 2 years have been extremely difficult for us because effectively our customers, who are hospitals or private laboratories, have been shut off. They've been completely consumed with COVID testing. Now that's clearly opening up. And I think you can see now that's being demonstrated through sales activity going into, or as we kind of close out this 2022 calendar year. And we're expecting another step change as we move into the 2023 calendar year, growing that sales and install base. Next slide talks about a great new opportunity of microbial quality control testing. So this is not clinical, this is non-clinical, if you like, or it's environmental monitoring. So if you think of drug manufacturing, drugs are manufactured in a clean room. Part of assessing the hygiene or the cleanliness of the clean room is putting a culture plate inside the clean room, and they rotate that every 4 hours. It's then incubated for a number of days, and you have scientists then looking at that plate to see if there's any environmental bacteria or bugs growing on the plate. And if you think about it, it is perfect for our product because clean rooms are meant to be clean. But it's an extremely important quality assurance and quality control method of ensuring that those batches of drugs that are manufactured under that clean room setting are actually fit for purpose, and the environmental monitoring is in place. And so we've finished a proof of concept work, and we've been appointed by a multinational pharma company to kind of do that work. We've done that. The performance is really good. It's a very big, attractive market. You kind of think of the big top 20 pharma companies have about 600 odd manufacturing sites globally. And we see this kind of being a bit of a situation where you validate it at one of the sites and very quickly you see adoption. So, a really exciting opportunity again, and we hope kind of the near-term catalyst milestones will be to uncover and name who this pharma partner is for us. Next slide gives a bit of an idea of where we're at from a share graph perspective, and cash at bank, we've got 4.7 million of cash and receivables, and burning about 2 million or 2.1 million per quarter. We had our first break-even quarter actually for the company last quarter, and that really kind of represents the receipt of monies coming from the number of sales that we had out of the US. Next slide talks about the rights issue that we've got currently active. So we have lodged and are seeking to raise up to $3.5 million. I won't go into all of the details, but obviously there's a prospectus. All of that information is disclosed. It's going to existing shareholders, and any shortfall that might exist out of that we'll look to place as part of that shortfall kind of opportunity the company has. So look, finally, and just wrapping things up here, there really is no better time to be in the diagnostic space. We've got a technology that is de-risked. We've got a product in the market, and we've got really big companies behind us. It took a year for these big companies to go through all of the due diligence to make sure that there was product market fit. They did voice of customer feedback. So, we've got a product that's fit for purpose. We've got a growing install base. And coming out of COVID, the sales traction, that inflection point that you can see there, we expect to continue going into next year. And look, I can't stress the excitement around this pharma opportunity, this new vertical. And we see probably, it's quite likely to have a product in the market within 12 months, because there is no hardware changes. It's using the same hardware platform and really developing just a new algorithm, a new piece of software that does the interpretation for a new application. So I'll leave it there, Tim, and hand back to you.
Thanks, Brent. A couple of questions coming through. Have you kind of pivoted in terms of your product suite and where your focus is? Obviously, the company's been seriously impacted by COVID. Has the kind of the recent sales come from a pivot in your kind of product suite?
Yeah, I'd say, look, it's probably less about the product suite and more about the commercial relationships we've been able to establish. And so, 12 months ago, we signed an exclusive distributorship with Thermo Fisher Scientific in the US. And, it's the same product, but we've got a channel partner who's got over 100, feet on the ground, has a brand reputation and trust with our customers. And it is a sales cycle that is 12 to 15 months. And so we've benefited from having, all of that presence in the US. We've got one person in the US to manage the channel and be part of that process as well. We're not trying to do it all here from Australia, and that's really important as part of our commercialization plan. So I'd say it's more about getting the commercial partner in place. And I'd say the first 12 months, we'd characterize or reflect that it's been quite a successful first 12 months, given the sales cycle and given the traction we've seen through Thermo Fisher.
Yeah, I think I read the other day there's big pharma sitting on about $300 billion in cash, right? So to have a relationship there is not easy, and it does take time. You have mentioned kind of big pharma, but you haven't implied who. Will there be at some stage? What are the steps to kind of finally name that partner in future?
Yeah, so look, they've engaged with us to do the proof of concept. We finished that work, and I think it's reasonable for shareholders to think what we're doing now is trying to firm up what that would look like in terms of developing the technology. And part of that will include, we're obligated to name who the company is. And so there's a little bit of, big companies not wanting to say a lot, but also at the same time, trying to get an agreement in place that best reflects the interests of our shareholders in our company. At the same time, obviously needing to provide some commercial sense for the partner. But look, it is an exciting opportunity. We hope that's in the fairly near term that we can get that into the market, because it'd be great just to be able to talk a little bit more openly about it.
And Brent, just finally, you did have a cash flow positive quarter. Congratulations. What was driving that? I assume that's sales. And what is the kind of sales pipeline? What could the sales pipeline look like into future quarters?
So the last quarter was absolutely sales. Yeah, drove that. So that was really through Thermo Fisher in the US. Look, this quarter we've already disclosed we've had the R&D tax incentive come in, and so that's really positive. So we're kind of probably expecting this current quarter to be close to that break-even point, and then kind of moving into next year. We are expecting that step change up in sales. So we haven't put that forecast out there, but I think we've got some positive signs just around cash management, and kind of looking and understanding the importance of getting to that kind of cash flow break-even point, which is really the primary focus of the company over the coming time.
Brent, thanks for your time. Have a nice weekend. Good luck with the rights issue in the market.
Thank you, Tim. Take care.